There's a very common myth in ear training related to learning songs by ear. A lot of people will tell you that, okay, you need to develop your musical ear, just learn songs by ear. That's the best way to develop your musical ear and develop your musicality. Just transcribe music by listening to real songs and keep on doing that, and one day you'll become great at doing it. Well, is it really true? So let's start the video by getting straight to the answer. Is learning songs by ear enough to develop a great musical ear? Well, for a few people, yes, it is. But for most people, no. It's not enough to develop a great musical ear. So why few people can, whereas most people can't? Well, the reason why this happens is that very few people intuitively approach learning songs by ear in the right way, using the right thought process. So the few people that do that are able to effectively develop their musical hearing skills just by repeating the process of transcribing melodies, transcribing chords when listening to real songs. But that requires the usage of a very specific thought process, which is what I call the tonal approach, that really takes into account not only the notes and the chords themselves, but also the context in which the notes and the chords are played. And unfortunately, most people have difficulties in approaching learning songs by ear in this way right at the beginning. That's the reason why most people have difficulties in developing their musical hearing skills just by learning songs by ear, because most people won't intuitively, instinctively approach the task of learning songs by ear by using the right thought process and by framing the musical information through the right perspective. So, in other words, the reason why most people can't improve is because they adopt ineffective approaches. Well, of course, there can be an infinite amount of ineffective approaches, but let's see the two that are most commonly used. The first one is what I call the trial and error approach. Basically, this is when a musician tries to learn songs by ear by helping himself with an instrument, and basically he plays random notes or random chords on his instrument till he finds the notes or the chords that matches the ones played in the song. So as you can understand, this task doesn't involve other skills than pitch matching. And that's fine. Pitch matching skills are very important in your training, so developing pitch matching skills won't hurt you at all, but you're not going to develop an intuitive connection to music that allows you to react and understand music just by listening to it. As you can understand, there are a lot of other thought processes involved when recognizing a chord progression or a melody on the fly. So just working on your pitch matching skills over and over won't allow you to develop the thought processes that are needed to do that. In other words, won't allow you to develop the tonal vocabulary that's necessary to be able to intuitively recognize music. The second most common ineffective approach is thinking in terms of intervals. This is when musicians try to learn a melody by ear just by thinking of each interval between the notes. This again won't allow you to develop the intuitive connection to music that musicians are looking for in order to be able to recognize melodies and chords on the spot. And this is clearly shown by scientific studies. I've talked about that in multiple videos on this channel. I really suggest you watch a specific video that you can find up here or in the description section below, where I show the most important scientific studies that are explaining that. So in other words, also thinking of intervals won't allow you to develop the tonal vocabulary that's absolutely necessary for you to be able to recognize a melody on the spot or recognize a chord progression on the spot. That's the main reason why these approaches are ineffective. That's because they won't allow you to internalize music as you internalize a language. So you won't get the intuitive connection that's necessary to react to music in real time without thinking and without having to do mental calculations in order to find out what notes you have to play or what chords you have to play, etc. By using either this approach or this approach, you will always have to do mental calculations, to do lots of rational thinking in order to come up with the right answer. So what I suggest you do instead of using these two approaches? Well, the answer is simple. Always use a tonal approach when learning songs by ear. That's the best thing you can do, because using a tonal approach, always taking into account the context when learning a song, when transcribing a melody, when transcribing a chord progression, etc., will really allow you to develop the tonal vocabulary and to develop this intuitive connection to music that everyone is looking for. And that's exactly what musicians who are thought to be talented do. They always transcribe music from a contextual perspective. They might not be conscious of that. They might do that instinctively, intuitively, but they do that. And that allows them to improve and develop the tonal vocabulary that I was talking about before. So then they can interact with music as if it was a language. So they don't need to think a lot. They just react to the sensation, and they know on a feeling level what the note is, what the chord is, etc. There's a last important thing to understand before learning songs by ear in order to improve your musical hearing skills. It's very important that you develop the very basic ear training skills before even trying to transcribe real songs. That's because if you don't have very basic skills such as pitch matching, such as the internalization of the scale, well, the process of transcribing a real song will be totally overwhelming to you. So chances are that you get a lot of frustration with little to no improvement in return. So be sure to have the very basic ear training skills in place before even trying to transcribe a real songs by ear. And then, similar suggestion is start by transcribing very simple songs. By very simple songs, I mean songs that are harmonically simple. They don't have modulation, key shift, they don't have non-diatonic chords, they don't have non-diatonic notes, they are within a single key, and they are fairly simple. So melody is not too fast, the chord progression is not too fast, there are not seventh chords, there are only simple chords in it. So that's very important too, because if you start learning songs by ear with a song that's too complex, you will get frustrated too. So that's not what you want to do. And it's not about frustration. A bit of frustration is always necessary to improve, and you need to struggle a bit in order to improve. But you need to be very careful on how much the task you're facing is difficult to you. Because if it's too hard, if it's too difficult, there's too much frustration, it's overwhelming, and you're not going to learn anything. And that's also the reason why we created our video course, which includes a very thorough, detailed, and gradual step-by-step path that either you are a beginner or an intermediate student will allow you to move from your current level to an advanced level in a gradual, step-by-step way. And that will really allow you to avoid a lot of frustration, to avoid practicing ineffective exercises, and to avoid struggling a lot on the wrong thing. Thanks to this step-by-step path, you can stay sure that you will practice the right exercise for you at each stage in the learning process. So if you're really interested in developing your musical hearing skills, I suggest you check out our video course. There are more than 700 students that have already subscribed to it, and they are getting amazing results. You can check out their opinions on our testimonials page. See all the links in the description section of this video. I hope this video was helpful to you. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave a like, and if you have some questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye!